Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this orientation video. It's kind of a part one to our Catch the Vision training that we're doing for our parents of SLA, Service Leadership Academy. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be here and watch this. Um, as I was meeting with our board over the past few weeks, we've been meeting, we've probably had about four meetings since we became a board and were voted in. And it's been a really neat experience being able to meet with them every week. And they've had the opportunity to ask me more refining questions, like Roseanne specifically, our vice president, has really asked a lot of refining questions to try and clarify in her own mind what is the vision of what we're trying to do. She's very familiar with TJ Ed and has been a part of more TJ Ed style groups, like specifically. And so she was kind of trying to figure out, like, what are we trying to do? Are we like, what is our, like, are we TJ Ed? Are we, and I've received this question from some other families as well. Like, are we offering Lemmy classes? Are we based in Well-Educated Heart? Like, what is our premise? What is our, what are we based off of? And the shorter answer to that is we are a Christ-centered, Christ-based co-op. Is really the quick answer, and that's what I've been saying. And I feel like there are a lot of people, including those on our own board, who watched my first presentation with my slideshow, went through that, and talked to me personally. And they're like, okay, I'm on board. And they were official, but they still were trying to wrap their mind about what exactly is it that we're trying to do? Like what is, yeah, this vision and purpose. And I could tell that those on the board, the more that we talked, and especially once I got our handbook out and we talked after reading the handbook and I was able to verbally explain some things, I really could see that understanding behind, behind their eyes, like of, okay, I get this and I like it. I really love what we're trying to do. And that's what I would love for everyone else. Roseanne brought up at our last meeting, like, how are we going to get everyone else? Like, we've had this opportunity to discuss this with you and come to this understanding. How are we going to get everyone else to come to this understanding? And I had been having similar thoughts and feelings and had already kind of had the idea in my mind. So I said, I'm going to make a video. And then we are going to have a mandatory meeting that everyone needs to attend so that we can all get on the same page with what we're trying to do. And I think it's going to be really beneficial, both for those who are already officially committed, so that they know what we're trying to build and they can be on board with it and help do it. And those who are on the fence and still trying to make a decision and they've been praying about it, I really hope that having our handbook out and having this video and the in-person meeting, which I do really hope that you make a strong effort to come to, because I really feel like there's a spirit of unity when you come together in person, and having that opportunity to come and be in person and discuss a little further from this video and from the handbook, just kind of a leaping off point from those to be able to really start to dive in, is really going to give people clarification. I think they're really going to be able to see, and maybe you'll already have those feelings before coming to the meeting, but I think with, these things combined, I think people will really be able to tell either I'm getting really excited about this and I'm getting that good feeling from the Holy Ghost, that confirming thoughts and feelings that this is the right path for me and my family and we're going to go for it. Or you'll start to feel even more and more so like I just don't, it's not sitting right with me. And I encourage you to pay attention to your promptings and trust those, because God is going to guide everyone and He knows what experiences each of us need at this time in our lives. And it doesn't mean that SLA isn't for you ever. If that's where God is leading you, then He has something else planned, something else in store, and that's okay too. Um, all right, so we're going to go ahead and dive in. Sorry, I have my notes over here to the side. Um, all right. So I feel like uh, one of the things that I have been able to start to tell people that is really helping a lot, because I keep bringing up FLA, which is Family Leadership Academy, and we are SLA, Service Leadership Academy. It sounds very similar, so it could get confusing, and especially for those who have never heard of FLA and they've only heard it from me, they probably are wondering, why, what is this group and why are we trying to copy it so much? And especially after reading the handbook, I feel like reading the handbook without being paired with this video, for a lot of people, will be just kind of overwhelming at first. Like, okay, this seems overwhelming, or I don't quite agree with like them having dress and grooming standards, or I don't agree with, other aspects of it. And I think being paired with this video and getting to hear kind of feel like I want to paint a picture for you to help you see what this looks like, not on paper, that hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense, or at least the reason why will make some sense. So, the why behind trying to copy FLA is because I feel like there's fruits there. And when you see good fruit, you're like, okay, how can I replicate that if I want those good fruits in my own life or in this co-op that I'm starting that I want to make? And those fruits, so I'll start with, they've been around for 14, going on 15 years, if I understood right. I'm sure there's other co-ops that have been around for a long time too, but they're the longest running one that I know personally, that's still going currently. And they have had a lot of experience refining their process, simplifying their process, streamlining it, but holding on to those foundational principles that they had started with. And then for a long time, they have had a wait list going out the door. And it's really hard to get into. And it's been like that for years, like not just recently since COVID and more people homeschooling. I think it's gotten even harder since COVID and there being an increase in homeschoolers, especially homeschoolers who want that kind of a community. But from what I understand, even before COVID, it has been a really hard group to get into just because of the demand, really is what it comes down to. So those are kind of the first fruits, and I feel like those um, really are because of this, the next thing I'm going to say. And that is that their youth, the people who are part of FLA, the youth, the kids, and the parents. I'll say moms because those are the people that I've interacted with personally. So all those people that I've interacted with personally are just stellar. They're really neat people and they exude love and kindness. Like when you talk to them, they make eye contact. I mean, the moms. I'm talking specifically about the moms right now, also some of the youth for that matter, but you can tell that they're present when they talk to you. They show love, they show appreciation and gratitude. And that's in just like meeting them and having like literally surface conversation. And you already are getting a sense of like of love. Um, and then all of the youth that I have ever met from FLA, I have always been 100% impressed with. They have abilities that I feel like other youth just don't have as far as communicating and being able to organize things. And I mean, they have some skills that adults don't have in being able to reach out and follow through and make sure things are going. And I'll talk more on that in just a minute. And even some of their younger kids. I have one of the FLA families is in my ward, and their kids, all the way down to their youngest, are just impressive. They have these qualities and these attributes and these characteristics that stand out in a way that you look at them and say, "Hey, what is that family doing right? How can I do that?" And the more you connect the dots that, oh, that's an FLA family. Oh, that's also an FLA family. Okay, what is it that FLA is doing that I can have in my own life to help raise my children to have these same attributes and qualities because that is what I want in my family. Um, so let's get down to what is their secret sauce? That's what they called it because they've had so many people reach out and ask them, like, what is it that you're doing? How can we recreate this? And so they started to kind of pick apart, like, what is it that we are doing? And they're like, okay, here's the secret sauce of FLA. And they've had a few training, in-person like training days for people who are trying to start groups like theirs that they are trying to their best communicate, like, this is what we do. This is what how we've set up, in a way to create this kind of community to help people start their own. And at one of those days that I went to recently, there was a lady there, and she said all the same things I just said when she was opening the group that day. She said so they're from southern Utah, like St. George area. And she said that she had traveled up for a like dance festival that her children were performing in, and it was from dance groups all around, and there were like folk dance type dance. And she said that they kept running into children or youth that were really impressive. She just was like, "What is with like this person or this person?" And then she kept finding out like, "Oh, they're from FLA, they're part of FLA," and she's like, what is FLA? Everyone keeps saying this thing about FLA, and there's this connection between these kids and this light. She used the word light about them that was really standing out to her. What is the connection between that and this thing called FLA that they all seem to be a part of? And she finally was able to track down a parent of one of these kids and was like, I gotta ask you, like, what is FLA and why do all of these kids have this light? Why are they like, what is different about them? What are you guys doing? And they were able to tell her about what they do. And she happened to also be a homeschooler at running, I think it was a TJ Ed style co-op that she was president of at the time and currently still was, but almost done with at the time she was at this meeting and speaking to us. And she was saying, I want to start a group like this because there is something different. There is something desirable. So again, she noticed those fruits, which is, I think, that main fruit. And I think that's why they've been around for so long. And that's why they have a wait list out the door is because their youth and their kids and the moms have exhibited these qualities and characteristics that are so desirable. Um, okay. So what do they do? So what is the secret sauce, right? First of all, first and foremost, is it is a Christ-centered co-op. That is the basis, because there are all sorts of co-ops specifically based in certain philosophies, and I'm sure they're great too and wonderful experiences. But this co-op, I think, was the first one that they knew of that said, no, we're going to do this based on Christ and keep it at the center. And that's going to be the center of what we do. And we might pull in attributes of different philosophies that really ring true to us, but this is going to be the core. And and so I feel like that is the foundation. That's the most important part to the secret sauce. And all of the classes that they do bring Christ in some way, bring in that light and truth. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to formally bear your testimony at the end of every class or anything. It's more natural than that. Um, like for instance, you could be teaching a class on learning to identify edible plants and just outdoor survival skills. And, we're learning some fire starting skills. And then you can talk about like, isn't it so like just conversationally, isn't it so amazing that God has given us this ability to light fires? Like he inspired someone at a certain time to discover this, and it made such a huge difference in their lives. Their lives kind of looked like this before that, and it looks like this after. And it's an important skill for us to have for this, and this reason. And aren't you so grateful that God inspires our minds and gives us light and knowledge? And then later, as you're walking around identifying plants, just expressing gratitude. Like, I'm so glad that God gave us, the earth and he created all these amazing different plants and that some of them have different benefits to us as humans. And then just asking open-ended questions. Why do you think God, made things different, like made plants different colors? What do you think the purpose of that is? And just letting them answer and explore that. And it's just the fact that you're bringing God into it. God is part of literally everything we could learn, so it shouldn't be hard, right? It should be very easy to include him in math and science and history, even crafting like home ec type things. I think that it could be included in everything, just conversationally. Let's see here. So then, like more specifically, they have, I think this makes a huge difference. And one of the things that they say is a big deal for making up that secret sauce, making up that culture, is that they have a homeroom. And that homeroom is specifically like the purpose of it is kind of a character development, um, growth time. It's really where the heart of everything is. It's where they students can mainly do presentations. Because that's a big aspect of being a part of a co-op is the opportunity to do things that aren't easy to do individually or just in your family, but that you need a co-op to be able to do. And so having opportunities to present regularly. So that's something that they do in homeroom a lot is give kids opportunities to present, stand up and share and be in front of their peers. Um, and it's also a time for relationship building. And like I said, it's that character building. And so I'm going to give some examples to help paint that picture, if you will. So in our handbook too, there's a document that you can click on under homeroom or first period. Yeah, it says first period homeroom on it. And that one document is kind of, it says elements of homeroom, and reading it, you're going to say like, okay, what does this look like though? How does this apply to different age groups? Um, because it's easy to picture for maybe a preschool, like the way she describes it, it's kind of easier to picture for younger kids. And you're like, how is this applying for older kids? So let's paint some pictures here. So you will first walk into homeroom, and the teacher has, so for younger groups, they might have some kind of centers out, like, okay, here's some Play-Doh, here's some blocks, here's, some like free art, free process art kind of station going on over here, and here's some other kind of manipulative over here, and just kind of let the kid like play some quiet music, let them explore the centers and have that be a good opportunity for you to kind of float and help kids learn how to communicate and be gracious and polite in the way that they're interacting with each other as they are playing with these. And I don't know I can't remember the exact amount of time that they suggested for like a free centers. But then the teacher rings some kind of bell. So let's say, back up here for a minute. Each class will have a homeroom teacher is the homeroom teacher for the whole year, and they pick some kind of theme. So say it's so this is a specific example. It's listed on the homeroom examples page on our handbook, that link. Because I talked to a kid from FLA. I think this is the nine, nope, younger. I think they were 5-year old. This is like the 5-year-old kind of example homeroom class. So the mom who mentored that homeroom class, she found some books, and they were like books that help develop certain characteristics or values. So one might be sharing or something, some kind of good value the whole book is about, but they're ninjas in the book. So her theme for the whole year was ninjas. And I don't know if she made it cutesy in some way, like character ninjas, I don't know, or value ninjas. But they would have those centers, then she would ring a bell, and she specifically played like a ninja song. It was their cleanup song. So they clean up to the ninja song. And then they gathered together on the floor in a circle, more like maybe preschool style, even though they were 5, like more kindergarten. And then she would read, well, first she would ask, like, remind them what last week's book was about, what characteristic or value it was teaching, and ask them for examples. What are some, like, did anyone see this week? Like, notice someone else, or did you have an opportunity to practice this value? And let people go around and just share. And then they would have some kind of like show and tell moment that wasn't necessarily connected to the book or the value, but just a moment to highlight and spotlight different children. That's kind of like the presentation moment, because the kid could then show the thing and talk about it, and they're standing up in front of their peers. And then they would read the new book for the next value. And after that, they would do an activity related to the value that was just taught in that book. So they would, after the activity, yeah, that would be the end. So they would say opening and closing prayer too, I think, in some of the classes. I don't know if the younger class they specifically did, but some of them they did specifically. So an example for an older class. So let's go ahead and jump up to like the oldest class in high school. Theirs more looked like walking in, and they had chairs set out, not a table. Well, maybe there was a table. Anyway, they didn't mention. So they walk in, and they had their name on a chair, because the teacher would change who sat by who. So they would find their name, sit in their chair, and there was just cards and envelopes and pens and things on the table. And they would sit and spend like maybe 5, 10 minutes, I don't know exactly the length of time, writing thank you cards to the other moms in the co-op. And they were encouraged to think of something specific to thank them for. And so they would sit and write some thank you cards. And the teacher would play some like, yeah, music during that time, and then turn it off, start with a prayer, and then she would assign maybe a different kid to lead a discussion based on a conference talk for that week. And beforehand, she had printed off all these conference talks in binders for each of the kids, the specific ones she wanted them to read. So they would discuss the one for that week, the one that they had read the last week. And then they had also been reading some novels that were kind of like great lives. Well, some of them weren't necessarily great lives, but the characters in them displayed really good characteristics. Think the good and the beautiful, right? That's something that she's really big on is books that show people who love their family, who treat their siblings kind, who do courageous and brave things, even when it's not good, popular, but they do what's right. And so it was kind of novels in that sense. And so they would kind of discuss where they were at reading in the book for that week as well. And then they would give them each opportunities to present as well, although they didn't tell me exactly what they presented on. Maybe they connected that somehow to the conference talks, or maybe it was kind of just slightly connected in the fact that it could have been someone that maybe was exhibiting character traits from the books that they were currently reading, or maybe it was just their favorite character in the book, something. They had an opportunity to present and take turns presenting. And then they had after a book was read, they would do a book celebration that was in the theme of that book. So they did Charles Dickens, was one, and and that was, I don't know if it took them the whole first semester, but it was in December, right after their semester got over, like the beginning of December, they did a Charles Dickens dinner like party where they all dressed in clothes from Charles Dickens era and they had a dinner and then they had a dance and it was just at someone's house. It wasn't big, it wasn't fancy. But the moms for the homeroom put that on and they probably asked for some help in coordinating that, or the moms of the kids who were in that class helped do some things, I'm sure. And then they would do that for each book that they read, do some kind of celebration in the theme of that book. One of them it's called Bendigo Shafter. I can't remember the title of it. I'm sorry. But it's about this cowboy, and he displays all these characteristics of someone who's a gentleman, who's courageous, all those things that I talked about. And so they kind of did this thing where they were giving the boys in that class Bendigo bucks, is what they called it, when they would notice them displaying any of the characteristics from the main character Bendigo in the book, and like being a gentleman or opening a door for someone or just any kind of chivalrous act, they'd earn these Bendigo bucks. And at the end, Elle and the girls had an assignment to hand make like certain items and fill a basket, it was a picnic basket with food and some home baked and goods that the girls had made, as well as maybe some like hand stitched gloves or, something cute like that. Anyway, they were putting together these baskets and working on that while the boys were earning bucks. And then for that party, the boys bid using their Bendigo bucks. They had like an auction to auction off the baskets that the girls had, and they didn't say which girl had made which basket, so they were just uh, bidding on a basket. And then in the end, they found out whose basket that they had won, and then that girl, they got to take on a picnic with the basket that she had made, like right then and there, right after the um, bidding. So they went on a hike and took the baskets and and the boys dressed like cowboys and I don't know what the girls were, but something maybe from that era too in style. And anyway, just so fun. It's homeroom is this opportunity to really focus on the spiritual aspects, developing Christ-like characteristics and values, and really build relationships and have opportunities to present. That is the best kind of in a nutshell way that I've come to understand what homeroom looks and feels like. Okay, so that was kind of a tangent. We're still talking about their secret sauce here. We talked about how the co-op is Christ-centered, classes are bringing in God, and homeroom is specifically developing those relationships and characteristics focused. It's not like a sewing class, specific. It's not that type of specific. It's more of like discussion based for the older and a little bit of discussion for the younger with activities tied to what you're learning. Um, Trying to paint a picture here, so sorry if I'm long-winded. Okay. The other thing is they say out loud and often the values that they have as a co-op. So if like they're always encouraging their kids to include everyone in the games that kids are playing and to be kind and to be good stewards and pick up after themselves and leave places better than they found it and be chivalrous and hold open doors. Like they're constantly like saying out loud, like, oh, hey, like so-and-so's walking behind you, be chivalrous, like hold open the door, or like, hey, did you notice that so-and-so's sitting on the side? Like, make sure you include them. Like that's part of our culture. We include everyone. We don't exclude someone just because they're our younger sibling or they're way younger than us or they're a girl. That's not part of it, and that is not allowed. Everyone is included in any game, and it's their job to see someone who feels left out. So they're constantly saying it and saying it out loud and reminding them. Another big part of their secret sauce is that the moms are striving to be good examples in all of these characteristics and values. They are trying to gain them themselves and be examples in these areas. Like, for example, the way that they treat the other moms. There's no gossiping. They are kind. They solve problems with grace. They give each other grace. So if there is a miscommunication between a couple moms, instead of being mad and getting a little bitter and talking to someone else about it, everyone is encouraged to like say a little prayer, calm your heart down, ask for understanding and to show love. Then they approach that person in love and humility, giving grace, thinking, okay, maybe there's something going on that I don't know about, or maybe they just didn't know that I'd put this much effort into this other thing that then they turned down. Like, I'm just gonna go communicate with them. And the other person is encouraged to also respond with grace and love, and they're able to solve problems without any kind of cattiness. So I think that that helps a ton, that they're being those examples, they're showing love to everyone, and that kind of feeds into the next thing. That is their secret sauce, is that the moms, mentors, so if dads are coming to teach, the parents are showing love to all the kids in the co-op, and they're showing genuine love, trying to be as genuine as they can. And if there is a kid that they're struggling to love in a class that they're teaching, you're encouraged to pray and ask to be filled with love and charity towards that child and towards everyone in the co-op because that is just huge. I think that's something that really stands out to me anytime I talk to a kid from FLA, where they're talking about FLA, they will say, I love the other moms at FLA. When we had the youth from FLA come to present at our first fireside, every single one of them expressed gratitude. They just said, I am just so thankful for all the moms at the co-op and and the efforts that they put into their classes and what they're teaching us. And you could tell they were genuinely grateful and just felt love from those moms and they loved them back. Like it's amazing how each of them brought that up separately as something that they wanted to say about their experience and being part of FLA. And then even when I was talking to those kids about their homeroom experiences, the 9-year-old said, I said, what was your favorite part of homeroom? And his favorite part was he said, the mom who taught it was just so kind. She was so nice to me. And he's like, I like, I don't think he said I felt love, but he said something like, I felt like she cared. I can't remember exactly his wording, but I was just like, that's amazing to have a 9-year-old feel like so much love from another adult who's not their parent to the point where that sticks out to them more than anything else about their homeroom experience is it says a lot. And I will say that that to me is kind of that foundation second to being Christ-centered is the adults in the co-op are showing a Christ-like love and charity towards the children and each other. Because when kids are having that many adults show them love and respect and feeling love from them, they naturally respect those adults more and want to do things that please them. So if they know that these adults are valuing them to gain these qualities and attributes and be kinder to each other. And they get praised from random adults when they see them opening a door for someone or picking up trash or staying after to help clean something, then they feel good. They're like, oh, like this person who loves me noticed I was doing this. And like that means I impressed them. And I'm so glad because I love them back. And it's just this relationship that really feeds off of each other and it's just huge because in trying to get kids to learn values, if the adults are not demonstrating those Christ-like attributes and they're not showing love, they're showing irritation, that's not going to inspire children to want to gain those attributes. So everything that the moms are doing inspire the kids to try and gain these attributes. All right, let's see here. Okay, another big one, and I think that I don't know if this is necessarily something that they said is part of their secret sauce. Maybe they did. I'm trying to remember. But I think it's a big deal. I think it does make a huge difference. And that is when they show up on co-op day to the building. They call it game day. They say it's game day. Oh, they did mention this at the training. So yeah, it's part of their secret sauce. They say it's game day. You come with a smile, no matter what that morning was like, trying to get your kids out the door, what kind of stress you're feeling. Like while you're there, smile on, eyebrows up, and you are saying hi and saying kids' names and saying and giving hugs and being welcoming, and you're putting your energy into that class and exuding that love that I just talked about. And you're going to be exhausted at the end of it because of that just emotional effort. But if everyone comes and puts that smile on and does their best while they're there, it's just automatically going to be a good experience no matter what. And then right after when we go to our the park or wherever we go for our free hangout time right after co-op, that's the time that maybe you can like like and still just talk and have fun, but you don't have to exude as much effort as actual co-op day. But when they are there, when they're in the building and when it's go time, they put on a performance, really. And then they have a rule of no chit-chatting. It's not the time for moms to stand around the hall and chit-chat and catch up. They're there for a purpose, and that purpose is to run co-op, to teach their class, and to exude that love. And they are focused on that purpose while they're there. And then during the hangout time, that's chit-chat time. That is talk it up, get it, you know, be able to catch up on anything that you want to catch up on, ask other moms the questions you wanted to ask them. Maybe have a little sticky note on your phone that if something pops up that you want to talk to another mom about, put it in there so you don't get tempted to ask right there as you're helping the lead mentor their class and you're the support mentor. And there's a moment where the kids are just at their centers and you're like, oh, I'm going to walk over and just ask her this real quick. Just tell yourself, nope, I'm going to wait until the hangout time or call her later because this is not the time. This is game time. This is why we're here. Even though the kids are kind of busy and quiet and focused on something, it is not chit chat time. That is for after. So let's see. Here we go. Okay, another huge one. They have, and I don't know how long they've been doing this specifically, but they have their teens in leadership roles. So they have created a whole student council and class presidents for each of like the homeroom classes, I think a certain age and above, um, where these kids specifically are running for a position. They're running, they get voted in, and these positions, part of the responsibilities that they have read and they know, and that's why they're running for it, are to exhibit certain characteristics that the co-op is trying to help with, right? Like if there's a kid who's really good at reaching out to the lonely kid in co-op and they're always finding whoever looks like a misfit, then when they run, that's part of their campaign. They say like, I have this attribute and this is like a main job description of this position that I'm running for is to be the person who reaches out and finds the lonely person and helps include them. And that is a quality that I have and that I would love to serve in this position for. So each of those positions say like you are a standard bearer for what our co-op is. And so you have to be willing to maybe leave your group of friends that you want to hang out with and say, okay, I'm having a lot of fun, but I took on this responsibility and I see someone over there who's maybe new and they haven't made friends yet. And they're kind of just hanging around by the moms because they don't feel very welcome yet. They don't know anybody. So I'm going to leave this group and I'm going to go over and I'm just going to sit with them and talk to them, ask them what they're interested in, and maybe do something with them if they don't want to join this game that we're already doing. So they are learning a Christ-like characteristic of putting others before themselves in these leadership roles, as well as learning to run events and chair on committees. And so they're learning those leadership skills being paired with Christ-like attributes, which is what service leadership is. It's really amazing. Um, let's see. Okay. And then we're going to move on here. Let's see. Yep. So now you know what FLA looks like and what their secret sauce is and why we're trying to copy what they're doing as closely as possible so that we can recreate this experience. So what is it going to look like in SLA? Well, it's hopefully going to look very similar to FLA, at least eventually. That's the goal, is we want to get there. We want to get to where they're at as far as the feel of their community and the relationships among the adults among themselves, as well as the adults to the children, the quality of the classes, all of that. Hopefully will show up like that eventually, and quicker, because we're standing on the shoulders of giants here, being able to use what they've already made. Um, Okay, so it's going to look like showing up with your A game, despite maybe some lack of sleep. It's just 3 hours, so just show up, put on your A game, put on your smile, and do your best. It's going to look like committing to teach one class a semester. And I know in my first slideshow, when I was introducing the co-op to everybody or sending that slideshow out to people to help them understand what we were about, I know that I said that you would hopefully get a break and only have to teach for like 6 weeks and then get a break. But I was doing my math wrong and I was basing that off of another co-op who just does it different. And because I thought FLA is 4 hours long and we're going to simplify a little bit and only make ours 3 hours. But it still is different enough. And we're going to have two classes and not just one. And in my mind, I just did the math wrong. And I apologize if I misled anyone, but that is the commitment, is that you will teach every semester and you most likely will not get a break. Now, in our handbook, we do talk about people who are in specific circumstances. We want you to reach out to the board and say, like, hey, this is going on. I am feeling just not able to teach a class this year, but we really don't want to leave. We don't want to lose our spot here. And you can talk to them, and there might be an opportunity for you to just have a break teaching and still totally be a part of co-op. Or maybe after talking to you, they say, what if you take a break this year, your whole family? And then you guys come back and we will hold your spot. Um, or maybe it looks like serving in a different capacity instead of teaching a class, but stepping up to serve in another way. But it will be temporary. We want people to return to full activity as soon as possible because it's not fair to the other moms who are putting all their effort in. Because I feel like everyone goes through seasons and we want to show grace and compassion and be able as a community to step up and support that person when needed, but not to the point where we're putting so much strain on everyone else all the time, because there's always going to be situations for at least one family. And so if we have multiple families, we can't make promises for what that's going to look like. Um, but one of those examples might be recently having a baby. And it might be like some moms are like, you know what? I can strap my baby to me and I can totally teach this type of class, one that's not going to cause, like it's not going to be that hard. But you might have other moms who are like, no, it takes me a little bit to bounce back after having a baby, and they might need to take advantage of that. So come talk to us, tell us what your situation is, what kind of accommodation you're hoping to receive, and we'll work with you and we'll try and figure that out. Um, let's see here. So being part of SLA, our co-op will also look like what we talked about with those relationships between adults, striving to solve all problems or miscommunications with each other with love, grace, forgiveness, and humility. So just bringing that all into our communications with each other and zero gossiping. And basically promising to be like, not promising, but knowing in your head that this is a commitment to be friends with everyone. They're in co-op. It's not going to be um, buddy buddy or we're clicky. It's you're friends with everyone, just like we want our children to display. That's what the moms and all adults need to display. Um, it's going to look like serving with some time on boards or committees when possible and in the right season. And really, everyone will need to be taking their term. In every year, you will serve in some capacity. You might not be on a full year committee, but every committee will probably be reaching out and asking, like, hey, we need someone to bring this to this event, or we need someone to come help set up, or some people to stay after and take down. And so there's always going to be opportunities to serve in some capacity if you are not on the board or if you are not in an official committee. Um, at some point you need to be stepping up and helping in some capacity so that, again, that load is spread among all those shoulders. And then, um, so being a part of Service Leadership Academy is looking like doing your best to come to that park day right after our co-op, right after being at Stonegate and teaching our classes, which is mandatory. I will say that, not that if you have a sick day, you have to show up, but it means that you try your absolute best to be there on Fridays and you don't let other things get in the way. It becomes a top priority. You don't plan vacations um, as much as possible during the times that we're in session on the Fridays that we are in session. Because if we have people going out of town all the time or just missing because they woke up late and just decided they didn't want to come, it's going to fall apart. We need people to have the commitment in their mind that if we're part of this group, this is a Friday morning commitment and we are there. It is not a wishy-washy choice thing. It's we're there unless we're sick to the point where it doesn't make sense to go. Or if some like an emergency comes up, of course. So read the handbook on that if you have more questions or reach out. Um, and it looks like trying our best to come to that optional hangout time after co-op is not mandatory, but it's so strongly encouraged. So doing your best if it makes sense for you and your family um, in the season that you're in. And then it looks like offering any optional activity when you feel inspired or able to. And that's if ever. So it's not expected that you are going to host something, but I imagine at some point you're going to have an idea and say, hey, I would love to have host a youth night game at my house and reaching out to the youth leader and saying that, or just posting on the general chat, like, hey, I have this idea for a fun field trip. If anyone wants to join me, let me know and I'll set it up. So, and that's again, it's totally optional. We're not expecting anyone to do that, but I'm just putting that on there as this could look like what being part of SLA is for you, is sometimes coming up with an idea if you're inspired or able to. And then, um, like I guess the finishing everything I described, maybe this word popped into your mind, but it keeps popping into my mind, is that Zion-like community. So committing to striving for a Zion-like community and all of these behaviors that we're striving to get and to exemplify and be examples of. Really, that's what it comes down to is families coming together saying, we are knowingly and trying to create a Zion-like community as much as possible, even though we are imperfect. And then in conclusion here, it keeps coming to my mind that because as I ponder what we're doing, what we're trying to create, I just feel the Spirit so strongly that any time that a group is coming together under the name of Christ, there's power in that. And God is going to be your advocate and going to help make successes happen. Even though we're not an academically focused group, there is going to be just an automatic thing that happens in a group that's so Christ-centered and trying their best to do things. There's going to be some major learning going on because in an atmosphere with that much light, you can't not be learning. You can't be, anyway, I always say that right. But I think it will also impact children's learning at home and hopefully their relationships at home. I feel like when you're banding together to create something under the name of Christ, He's going to be there and your life is going to be filled more with the Spirit and it's just going to be powerful. I've already witnessed just so many little tender mercies that make me realize like God's hand really is there when you're really trying to do something to bring people closer to Christ and to become more like Him. There's just no way it can fail if people are agreeing to do that together and are being unified under that. And also, I want to end with this thought that the prophet has said, we are going to have front row seats to the second coming. And he said in one talk that this is the last half of the last inning. And then later, kind of built, like, I don't know if it was a few months or a few years later, the prophet said, we're in the final minutes of the last days, of the latter of the last days, or I can't remember exactly how he phrased it. I don't think the prophets and apostles can be more clear about the fact that we are in the last days, like the very last days, and that the second coming is soon. The prophet literally said, the time to prepare for the second coming is now. It is now. And that, in my mind, makes me think, okay, they're not telling us when it is, and maybe they don't know when it is, but they have been told by Christ himself to tell us that message, to prepare now. So whether it's in 100 years, 50 years, or 5 years, they want us to be acting like it's in 3 to 5 years, be preparing for it as if it is. And when the new youth standards came out, the new strength of youth, and when some of the things have changed in the handbook, I got excited because to me, paired with everything that the prophets and apostles are telling us, how close the second coming is, when they come out with changes like that, and people kind of get confused about it and start to have their own speculations. For me personally, it means that Christ or that God is in not just the harvest phase, maybe it's overlapping a little bit, but he is in the sifting phase. The wheat and the tares are being sifted. These new standards are an opportunity. They've taken the hard lines away. And instead of telling you exactly what to do, the prophets and apostles have come out with this handbook. It has these like hard and fast lines, and then you know exactly what to do. And some people are writing those lines right up to it, some people aren't. They've taken them completely away. And then they specifically said, this is an opportunity to be led by Christ himself. And the prophet has said, you can be taught by God himself in these situations where you're trying to make decisions, moral decisions, in your dress and grooming standards and in everything that you're doing. And some people are going to take that and they're going to take that invitation and they are going to build a stronger relationship with their Savior, Jesus Christ, and they are going to move away from the world in their conduct and behavior and their dress and their standards. They're going to look less like the world. And then there's some people who are going to look at that and say, great, and this is an excuse for me to get closer to the world. I'm going to start to look more like the world. And so the sifting of the wheat and the tares with these new standards is, are you going to make yourself wheat or are you going to make yourself tares based on the choices that you're making personally now that the boundaries are gone, now that the hard lines are gone? What are you going to do? And here in our co-op, if you've read the handbook and if you felt a little confused by the fact that some of the old wording and standards are in there from the old strength of youth, I just want to encourage you to think about, do you agree with what I'm saying, that this is an opportunity for us to become wheat? And if you agree with that, and if you agree that you want to be wheat and move more in that direction, and if you agree with everything that I've said in this presentation and it just makes you feel more excited, um, then please be all in on this and join us in this great opportunity to create a community here at Service Leadership Academy that is really striving to gain those attributes and qualities and create that kind of a community and those kind of relationships, and to really focus on our relationship with our Savior and becoming like him. Thank you again so much for spending this time watching this video, and I hope that it painted a picture. I hope that it helped you to see what we're striving and trying to create, and I hope that at our in-person meeting, that as we kind of leap forward off of what we've learned here in this video and what we read in the handbook, that we can then address any questions after that, anything that still doesn't make sense, and then move into an opportunity to really talk about what it is that we can do in our upcoming semester to kind of boost this and get this culture started. So thank you again. I appreciate your time.